Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. So Deontay Wilder, what is he going to do now considering he no longer will be fighting Tyson Fury? Obviously he had that rematch clause, but he's missed his opportunity by waiting too long to make that fight. It was Deontay Wilder and his team that have continuously been stalling. Tyson Fury has now had enough of that and decided to move on. So where does Deontay Wilder go from here? Does he retire? Does he continue? Because if he has a comeback fight against a lower level opposition, what are people going to say? Are they going to be interested in watching it, considering he had that mega fight with Fury lined up in the bag, but he missed it? He did not take the fight. Now, obviously you can understand why he wouldn't want to get back in there with Tyson Fury, because realistically the same thing is going to happen, because over the course of whatever months it was, 6, 7 months, maybe even 8, he's not going to get that much better. He's not going to improve all that much. So Tyson Fury is always going to beat Deontay Wilder unless Wilder changes many things. Does he even have the abilities to do that? The only thing he can do in there with Tyson Fury, and against many opponents, is land that big right hand. If he does not, then he's going to get outboxed, he's going to get stopped, he's going to get beat. So what he must do is go back to basics. Is he capable of doing that? I don't really know, because the major problem with Deontay Wilder is when the knockouts started to come, he started to neglect the boxing fundamentals, which is very dangerous at this kind of level. He's always found that punch though, it's always worked for him, up until he met Tyson Fury. That is when it did not work, and you would think that after December 1st, 2018, in that fight with Fury where he was outboxed primarily throughout the contest, then knocked Fury down twice and got a lucky draw, you would think that, okay, I need to learn the fundamentals of boxing, get back to basics, because when I get back in there with Fury, he's going to be different. I mean, you'd have to think that after that 12th round, when Fury stepped to him, you would believe that Deontay Wilder would know that Tyson Fury has seen a way to beat him, so then Deontay Wilder has to put together his own game plan in order to counteract that, especially in the press conferences when Fury said, I'm going to bulk up and I'm going to step to you and knock you out. You would think that Deontay Wilder would then realise that something is different. Tyson Fury knows a way to beat him, but ultimately maybe it was his ego thinking that this guy can't knock me out. I'm the power puncher, not Fury, but look what happened in the fight. So perhaps Deontay Wilder was a victim of his own ego, and that was what cost him greatly in that fight with Tyson Fury. Obviously being underprepared did as well. Tyson Fury done the right preparation, got a new trainer, changed his game plan, which was deemed kind of crazy in the build up to that Deontay Wilder fight. But look how well it worked, whereas Wilder himself didn't change a single thing. He went in there loading up, trying to land a big right hand, something that will not work against Tyson Fury unless you are extremely lucky, which Deontay Wilder has been throughout the majority of his career. Against Luis Ortiz, again, he was pretty lucky. In many of Deontay Wilder's fights, he gets outboxed, then lands a big punch. He seems to do that every single time. So the one thing that Tyson Fury decided is that, okay, I'm not going to allow him at 12 rounds and apparently that 1 second he needs to land the big punch. I'm going to take that away from him and I'm going to get him before he gets me. That is what Tyson Fury done in the rematch. And Wilder had never been in there with someone who decided to gamble like that. But the reason why the gamble paid off and the reason why Tyson Fury was able to take that gamble is because he had the physical attributes, the abilities, the skills to be able to do that. Deontay Wilder could not stick with Tyson Fury when he turned it into a boxing match. He could not stick with him when he turned it into a dogfight. Because what Deontay Wilder needs to do is keep you at range, then catch you walking in. That is what he does. He steps back into the space, loads that right hand, draws it back to his hip, and as soon as his opponent walks forward, he throws. And that is why it is so devastating, because he catches them coming in. And other times as well, he needs to be at a certain range to land his punches. If you stay close to Deontay Wilder, if you sit on the chest of him, he cannot get the power into his punches, because the reason why his punches are so devastating and powerful is because they are long. They travel an extremely long way before they hit their target, so his opponents are often on the end of the punches, which is where they do not want to be. Tyson Fury understood that. You need to get close to him. That takes away a lot of the power of Deontay Wilder, because it is the distance that the punch travels that causes the most devastating effect with this Wilder punch. I mean, it's incredible how he is able to land it in so many different fights, and he always does find a way, but Tyson Fury knew how to take that away from him. So where does he go from here? does other fighters go in there and try and do the same thing? Some of them will get knocked out trying to do that because they don't have the same physical attributes or skills of a Tyson Fury. Just because Tyson Fury was able to do it doesn't mean everyone else is. So Wilder will go in there, fighters will try and do the same thing as Tyson Fury, you can guarantee they will. Some will get knocked out doing that, but others will be successful. I think that Usyk would beat him, definitely. I mean, Andy Ruiz definitely would beat him. Even someone like Derek Chisora would be a nightmare for Deontay Wilder because they come forward, they like to fight on the inside. And unless Wilder is able to keep them on the outside, then he's not going to have a chance. And I know you would say that that big punch would keep them on the outside, but you've got to land it to keep them on the outside. And as I said, it's a long punch. He needs them on the end of that punch. And by the time he's able to throw that, draw it back, and ultimately he does look very predictable when he is going to throw it, his opponent will already be on the inside, like Tyson Fury was. He was able to close that distance and get on the inside extremely quickly and not allow Deontay Wilder to set his feet. That is why none of the punches landed by Deontay Wilder on Tyson Fury took a big effect, because he wasn't allowing him to set his feet and draw that punch back. So he was taking that right hand away from Deontay Wilder. You take that away, then Wilder is basic and not easy to beat because that punch is still there, but Tyson Fury's shown the way to beat him. And as I said, everyone will try and do that. Not everyone will succeed, but many will. So going back to the original question, will Deontay Wilder now retire after failing to secure this trilogy fight with Tyson Fury? Was it him? Was it his team? Was it bad management? Or did Deontay Wilder just not want it? He's a fighter, so I would rather give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he wanted the fight. Maybe it was his team. Maybe it goes deeper. There was just some reason why this fight didn't happen. If you consider all of the big fights that are happening, this one should have happened. It's not one that I was particularly interested in, but still, considering there was a contract, a rematch clause, the fight should have happened. There is some underlying reason why it didn't. And I think that that is the reason that leads us to ask the question, what is Deontay Wilder doing? Will he now retire, considering there are few places he can go, unless he wants to go back down and fight lower level oppositions, and maybe duke it out with the likes of Luis Ortiz again, which, I mean, we've seen it twice, we don't want to see it again. Andy Ruiz, who would be a nightmare for Deontay Wilder. Maybe even some fighters like Joseph Parker. Does he want to be in there around that pool of heavyweights? Or does he want to be the champion, where he can pick his opponents? Because at this stage for Deontay Wilder, it's going to be a lot more difficult getting back to where he was, rather than being there, because when he was sitting on top of the tree, the WBC did allow him to do whatever he wanted. Now, he is going to have to fight this guy, that guy, fight eliminators, and the tough fights. Tougher fights than he has ever had during his career, aside from the Tyson Fury fights. So, does Deontay Wilder want to put himself through that? I guess that remains to be seen, and I guess that is the reason why we are questioning, will he now retire? Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.